Hey, what's up? My name is Jacob Bertrand. I play Hawk from Cobra Kai, and this is Young Entertainment. Hey, what's up? So excited to be FaceTiming you.
So excited to be FaceTime you too. Thanks for picking up. So to start it off, so for Young Entertainment, most of our audience base is, young people looking to break into the entertainment industry,
Mhm.
or work in movie and film someday. So we do like a lot of masterclass moments, so they can learn from actors in the field.
Yeah.
So when you were filming season 6 of Cobra Kai, was there any technical aspect of your acting that you learned that you'll take with you?
Ooh, man. Technical aspect. I think one thing that I don't know if I've mastered or learned 100% is, and I don't know, this is so niche because I don't know how many roles are going to require this, but being able to fight in character is something that was really hard to learn, um, and instantly shows. So I think, or I guess just body
Yeah.
language with a specific character, and as you're getting into character, picking how they sit, how they stand, how they would get out of a chair, how would they run. I think differentiating those from yourself, I think just really helps um really round out a character. I remember, I think season 2, Hawk starts going a little evil. I wanted to do something just a little different from myself. I was like, oh, you know what? Like Hawk will always stand in a fighting stance, like with his feet. He's always gonna have his left foot forward just in case anything happens. He's ready with a check left hook. Like that's just a part of his character. He's always down to scrap, always ready to scrap. That's
Uh,
something that I really wanted to incorporate. So I would say stuff like that, like on a technical aspect, things like that, or
yeah,
things that I could pick up and get better at.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And now you have that action background, which is going to be super helpful in, future roles too. There you go. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Awesome. And then so kind of moving on to another kind of advice question. So you've been working in the industry for, a number of years now. When you were first starting out, how did you go about, getting an agent and kind of what was that process like?
Oh man, I feel bad when people ask this because it's what I did just doesn't work anymore. My parents didn't know anyone in the industry, but I grew up in California,
Okay.
like probably an hour and a half outside of like LA proper.
Mhm.
And my older sister really wanted to be an actress, and for the longest time, my parents were like, "We don't know how to do that. That's a whole nother world." And my mom eventually just sent Christmas cards of, all of our faces to a bunch of different agents in LA. And one of them responded and was like, "Hey, your kids are weird looking enough that they could go out for commercials. We'll take all three of your kids." And now that's called an unsolicited, and agencies won't even open them. So I think advice on how to get an agent. I think going on Backstage, Actors Access. I know it's like, $20 to sign up, but if you really want to do it, like spend the $20. It's not the end of the world. And just apply for, if you got a college nearby you, just apply for student short films and do as much of that as possible. Meet other creatives around you, become friends with them, manipulate them, use them, have them put you in their movies,
Mhm.
cut a reel together and try sending that to agents. That's sort of in my mind, the best way to do that.
Uh,
I think in the world of self tapes, it's it's almost easier and harder to get an agent, in some ways. I don't know. I got in 2005, which is, almost 2 decades ago. So the game has changed a lot since I joined it.
well, I absolutely love that Christmas card idea. That's incredible. Even if it may not work anymore, but
I
that's
mean, hey,
awesome.
try it. I mean, you never know.
Yeah,
If you get a really sick, awesomely formatted Christmas card, some agent's assistant actually would be like, "Damn, this person really knows, design well. I bet they're a great actor." So that might get you in the door right there.
Oh, that's amazing. Awesome. And then so you worked with some pretty, incredible people throughout Cobra Kai, and especially, on season 6. While filming season 6, was there any, actor or cast member in particular that you learned something from?
I think I was mainly in the teaching chair for most of my time on Cobra Kai.
Uh,
Ralph and Billy asking me questions, asking for my advice. That's sort of how our relationship is. Um, One thing I did learn from Billy though is how important movement is with with dialogue and just sort of keeping things alive. And um he's a big person on just, yeah, I don't know, just having movement with your dialogue and keeping everything lively, and
Mhm.
having this energy when you walk into a room. And so, maybe when there are moments where you're paused and you're planted and you're delivering a line, like that's a choice. That's a lot heavier because you're grounded now.
Mhm.
That's something that I had never really heard someone talk about before, that I got to learn from Billy pretty early on, because he's a very, very big advocate of moving.
Mhm. Yeah, and I was gonna ask, working with those OGs who have been in the industry for so long, Ralph and Billy, just how was that experience, especially now knowing that, it was your last kind of season working with them together, and just kind of what you learned that you'll take on like your journey in acting and just life forever.
Oh man, I mean, I would love for them to direct whatever I'm in next. They both got to direct in season 6 and have very different directing styles, but this sort of like secondhand communication that is, as an actor, is just so nice to have in a director. And very actually, all the time you hear, oh, this person's an actor's director, or yada yada yada. And I never really knew what that meant until working with the two of them. And Ralph just, even on our super rush days, you just felt like you had time in a scene,
Mhm.
and he really just gave you the time to let scenes breathe, and really wanted you to explore your choices. And same with Billy, in different ways, but even on the super rush days, you didn't feel rushed. And I think that's a hard thing to accomplish for a director on any set, but
Mhm.
particularly ours. And yeah, I mean, whether, TV show, movie, whatever, I would love to work with them again on the acting front, but specifically on the directing front too. They were awesome to work with.
Cool. That'd be awesome. Well, manifesting that for now.
Manifesting it. There we
Yeah,
go.
definitely. And so I've seen a lot of interviews. You've been asked about the iconic Mohawks, so I don't want to ask you too much about that. So
Oh,
probably
you're good.
more, but I kind of just wanted to ask about season 6 and the hair and makeup process in that season specifically. Was that process and experience different from, the previous seasons?
Yeah, so every other season the Mohawk has been my real hair.
Mm-hmm.
And every once in a while, I think it was maybe season 3 or 4, my hair was really, I would always keep my hair long before shooting, and my mom got tired of my long hair, so she was like, "You're getting it." I was like, "Mom, I have to go film some." She's like, "I don't care." So I'm like, "Okay, do I tell Netflix no or my mom no?" Well, my mom's a lot scarier than Netflix, so I'm gonna get my hair.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, so I got my hair cut, and I had some red with an extension. So it's always been my real hair, with one time
Mhm.
it was an extension. In season 6, the American flag mohawk, just the blue part is my hair. And then the middle part is a very long sort of headpiece. It's physically impossible to actually dye my hair in red and white stripes, because
Oh,
anytime I would shower, the red would just instantly bleed into the
mhm.
white, and I would have this
Yeah.
sort of like, pink umbra wave going
Yeah.
through my
Yeah.
hair. Um, it's so heavy and it's really hard to fight in, because I only have a strip of hair for it to connect to, so it's not
Um,
like they hunker it down pretty good, but there is a certain way you have to fight. Pins at the end of the day. Wearing a wig is tiring, and girls are, I don't know how girls do it. Girls will wear wigs all the time on set, and dude, they have scalps of steel. I don't know how they do it. I just had it with a little strip. My head was done
mhm.
at the end of the day.
Fair.
Um, but yeah, there's another mohawk. So I do love that mohawk, but for you know practical reasons, I'm not the hugest fan of it, just because
Uh,
it's so much more work, so much more work to get up. But it does look cool.
True. It does look cool, but you're probably sitting in that chair for hours.
Yeah, yeah, it's like an hour. It's not too different from the regular mohawk. It's just having the pins are.
Mhm. True. And I guess, yeah, going off of that, besides like, the hair aspect challenge, was there any other, challenges on filming season 6 that you kind of encountered?
I think timing is the biggest thing. We never really have enough time to learn our fights.
Mhm.
Um, just either we'll get enough time to learn a fight, and then we'll get notes from writers or network, and then the fight has to change, and that stuff is always kind of hard when they re-choreograph a fight day of. That
Mhm.
happened a couple times, which is a bummer. Yeah, we just never really got enough time to learn the fights. And I will say shout out to Ken Bearfield, our stunt coordinator, because he was really fighting. Because time is money is basically the thing. Like we just
Mhm, true.
never really get the time to learn fights because there isn't enough money to allow us time to learn the fights.
Yeah.
But Ken was really fighting tooth and nail all the time to try to get us the time in the prep time to fight. And I think, even though we didn't have as much as, maybe needed or as we would have liked, they sure as hell fought for it.
Mhm. And they looked incredible on screen, regardless of what was happening behind the scenes, so
Yeah.
it all worked
Hey,
out.
that's all that matters. Ken and
Yeah.
Don, good job.
True. And I know part one is, that's the only part out now, part two is coming out in November, but can you share any fun behind the scenes moments of filming season six, I guess part one, that you can share now, just anything that's stuck out?
Yeah, I mean, part one was really fun getting to film with Bo Mitchell and Joe Suh again. They play Brooks and Kyler. Getting to hang out with them is just always a blast. Yeah, just Joe and Bo improvising a lot during the scenes.
Mm.
That whole frat episode was just so much fun. It was awesome. That's probably one of the highlights for me, getting to fight with Gianni and Bo and Sholo and Joe. It's just awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about your relationship with Gianni, the binary brothers in Cobra Kai. So just what was it like and how did you kind of build that relationship offset to kind of have that chemistry that shows up on screen?
Yeah, luckily for me, Gianni is a cool dude, and there wasn't a lot of like, oh, let's try to make this work. We genuinely just got along, and Sholo and I are roommates when we film together. Peyton lives in the back house. Gianni practically lives with us because he's staying over so late and just crashing on our couch.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gianni and I, we play Minecraft together. We all play Magic the Gathering together. We watch anime together. Um, it's like it's almost like this was our college in a way. Like these
Oh
the
yeah.
guys who were like in my dorm in college that I found that I became really tight with. Even Tanner and Mary would come over for movie night sometimes. Getting to hang out with Brandon and Daniel was super fun, and some of the younger kids, Dallas, Una, Griffin, they'd come over sometimes too, and their parents would allow it because they're babies and they got a curfew.
Yeah. I mean, I've never even thought about it like that. Like it's kind of like a college dorm, like that experience, like a fraternity, sorority type thing. That's a really cool way to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say fraternity sorority. We don't really do the hazing crap.
Oh, well, yeah, that not
Yeah,
besides that part. Yeah.
yeah. We definitely were like a little family.
Awesome. Awesome. And so I wanted to ask, you filmed six seasons of this. Do you have any advice for, remembering lines and, reading scripts and just, committing that to memory?
I'm I'm lucky in the sense that memorizing was never a hard thing for me. I
Uh-huh.
think growing up on Disney stuff, they throw a ton of dialogue at you all the time that changes a lot. So I think I just sort of grew up like being forced to learn a lot of dialogue. Um, I'd say now when I have lots of dialogue, something that helps me is just writing it out, like writing out the
Makes sense.
actions
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
other characters' dialogue. That just helps me a little bit. Um, I also try to think about it. Every scene is telling a story. Like if you think about a scene as, like, what's the punchline of the story? What's the introduction to the story? Think about it that way. That helps me. Just being like, okay, what's the flow of it? Like, what is the
Yeah.
conversational flow? Like, how am I retelling this story? That's something that I do. Um, Other than that, like, you just kind of have to put in the time to, if you're not good at memorizing, you just have to put in more time to memorize. There's not like a trick or like a thing
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
like I've heard people that are like, I drink a glass of warm milk at night and do my lines, and then I drink milk for the scene and I remember, and I'm like, hey, you know what? Maybe that works.
Whatever works for you. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Honestly, whatever works for you. I like to write it down sometimes. That could be complete. Who knows? But that's just something I like to do.
Makes sense. I love that. Cool. And so when you were preparing to play Hawk in season six, are you someone who likes to create like playlists or like to kind of get into character, or is that something you've kind of ever done just when
Mm,
playing any character?
I've never made playlists. I think that's something that you can come up with easily.
Uh-huh.
I think the bigger thing is just more so, you know. just having a little book in your head of, what is the relationship with the mom like? What is the relationship with the
Yeah.
dad like? First
Mhm.
crush, first friend, first fight, like just rounding out what that person's life would be. If you were to introduce yourself to someone and really try to make them understand who you were, like what are the bits of information you would tell them, and then just mirror that with the character. Be like, okay, cool. What is that for this person?
Mhm.
What is just, I don't know, filling in those questions. I don't know. When I first started learning that stuff, character creation and all that, I had a mentor on set, and he's a really great older actor, and he was just kind of like, all that method stuff is you don't need to.
Um,
That's too prissy, Da, da, da. He's like, just have all the in your head, and um, when they snap that slate, you lock in and you're that character. And that's sort of how I've always approached everything. Is
uh,
it the perfect way? No, I think everyone has a different way that they learn, a different way that they like to do things. That's just sort of the way that I do it. Is I like to be myself on set and hang out, and then once they're rolling, once you hear action, you can like snap into it. That's how I like to do it. It's not for everybody. There's a couple of people on set that really like to marinate in character for a while for specific scenes before they go on, and I just think it's different strokes, different folks. Everybody has a different. I feel silly staying in character too long. I'm just like,
mhm.
I like doing it for the moment, and really committing in the moment. And then once you're out of it, you can be out of it.
You
Like,
just yeah.
yeah, I don't want to be a ravenous, violent guy all the time. That would just, take a toll on my life. And I think my girlfriend would be like, stop, you know.
Makes sense. And yeah, I'm kind of going off of that. I feel like I might know the answer to this already, but if Hawk was real in real life, do you think you guys be friends? Do you think you get along? How would that relationship be?
Oh yeah, I think Hawk and I would be friends. I don't know if I would ever go partying with Hawk. I think Hawk would go too hard, and is
Hmm.
definitely a better fighter than I am. So I think he definitely would drunkenly try to spar and knock somebody out. But no, definitely, I definitely think Hawk and I would be friends. He's just yeah, he's just a little too. I think he's a little too hard for me. I definitely know he would be like my thug friend, my hard friend.
Hmm.
Or
Makes sense. He might be a little too hard for honestly anybody, but
yeah, it takes a special type of woman to tame that guy.
yep, yep, fair. Awesome. So yeah, just a couple more questions for you before we go into a few like rapid fire things. So we wanted to ask about the Lone Lobos podcast that you have with
Oh yeah,
Zola.
yeah.
And amazing, such good, fan reaction. You guys have filmed a bunch of videos. So I wanted to know kind of where that idea came from, and how did you decide that you wanted to, start doing that?
Yeah, so we had gotten approached by a company to start a podcast for them, and specifically around video games. And it
Okay.
was an interesting offer, but Shola and I aren't the biggest video gamers in the world, so there wasn't a lot of runway for us to talk about video games constantly. And we just kind of realized like, hey, there's not a ton of young actors in the podcast space,
Yeah.
specifically, our age, that are, on a show that people happen to watch. And, we have a lot of friends that we would love to interview, and, feel like we can bring a unique voice to the podcast space. And that's just sort of how we started. We just wanted to do something really creative and almost have this sort of time capsule that, we can go back and watch this archive of, damn, this is what I sounded like when I was 21. Like, wow,
Uh-huh.
so that's sort of what spawned it. Just having fun, getting to be creative how we want to be.
Yeah, yeah, and I like in terms of, the future, it's been insanely popular. And even after Cobra Kai ends, it's evident that you guys are going to continue like this lifelong friendship. Do you have any, future goals for what you want to see the podcast turn into, or are you just kind of having fun with it now, seeing where it goes?
Yeah, I think one thing that we really want to do soon is, we just launched a super cast where you can kind of contribute monthly and get sort of exclusive content, more content. One thing we really want to do is sort of do a traveling podcast show where we can go to different cities and do live
Uh-huh.
podcasts in front of a live audience, like physically there. And
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I don't know, you would even call it like not arena, smaller than an arena, but like
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. You know, like, they do like
Like some
little,
people like go to like universities or like colleges and do it
yeah,
there,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
performing arts. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, have a little room, almost like a small like comedy cellar, like nothing too crazy or too big, but just doing something like that would be really cool, just to meet people who listen to the podcast. And there is like a little tight knit group of fans on Discord and Reddit, and it's cool to scroll through and see that being active. And I think going across the country, or I mean shit, even around the world,
Yeah.
uh, getting to do stuff like that would be awesome.
Amazing. Well, I actually just watched the episode with Tanner earlier and it's absolutely hilarious.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So keep it up.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and so uh when Cobra Kai ends, part two comes out, and kind of Hawk's story wraps up. Is there anything you want people to take away from his story or his character, to take with them, even though the show has ended?
I think, Hawk could have murdered so many people and he chose not to.
Uh-huh.
I think that level of restraint deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. I think that's some people should really take note of. He's very deadly, but he chooses not to be.
That's a that's a great lesson. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so just final question. So, after Cobra Kai ends, we wanted to ask, as you continue in, the entertainment space, and are looking for more roles, is there any specific type of role or project you would like to do, or any specific, actors or directors you'd like to work with?
Ooh, actors I would love to work with. I love John Bernthal. I think Edward Norton is sick. Um, I what's his Jeff Nichols. He used to do the Bike Riders. He directed Mud. I love that movie Mud. It's one of my favorites. He would be really cool to work with. I've always loved Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright, I just think he's just he's just so smart that like he gives the camera a personality, which is something that I don't think a lot of directors are able to do. Um, yeah, I don't know. Those people I would love to work with. They seem super cool. I'd love to get into directing myself. That's something
Nice.
that I'm working towards right now. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'd say I'm gonna lock in my answer there.
I like it. And is there any, different genres that you'd like to tackle as an actor in the future? You kind of want to, do you like the action kind of, Cobra Kai realm that you've
Yeah, I would love to do more action. It's so much fun. I wish I could do horror. I absolutely hate horror movies because I genuinely get horrible nightmares. I
I'm the
saw
same way.
yeah, I saw Long Legs. A friend's convinced me to go see it, and it's just like, beautifully shot movie. Just
Uh-huh.
hated it because it's
They're
so
fun.
scary. Um, but um, yeah, this is a shout out to Ed. He was our pretty sure he was our gaffer for like our first 4 seasons of Cobra Kai. Before he wrapped out, he pulled me aside and was like, Jacob, I really think you should do a rom-com. I think you would be good in that. And I'd never considered that before. So that's one thing, it doesn't need to be sued, but just, one of these days I'll do a rom-com and I'll dedicate it to
Amazing. Well, I think you'd kill it in all those genres. So,
Ed.
looking forward to seeing that. Awesome. So yeah, just to wrap it up, we have a couple rapid fire questions, kind of around like that.
Okay.
So it's all about first. So like the first time you've done something. So I'll just run through a couple of them, first answer that comes to your mind, and we'll just run through a few.
Nice. Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
Um, so what was your first time on set? Just, any set.
Um, I did. I was like I think I was 3 years old. My dad knew some photographer for Quicksilver, and they needed little kids to sit on the beach in Quicksilver clothes and be models. And I don't remember it at all. I don't even think I was paid. I think my dad just went surfing while this
You
photographer
were
had a
there.
lineup, and I was being watched by like 6 different moms because they were all there. My dad went surfing.
That's amazing. Nice. And what was your first audition?
Oscar Mayer commercial, and I ended up booking it. I was 5 years old.
Number
That
one.
was
There you go.
yeah, it aired on the season finale of Cobra, or not Cobra Kai, of American Idol. That I think is the one that Carrie Underwood won.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's very cool. Very cool. And do you remember your first time you ever were in a hair and makeup chair?
The first one I can really remember, I got murdered in this movie. I think it's called, it's not Disturbia. It starts with a D though. Oh, I can't. It's with Ariel Winter. She's the lead of
I'll look
it.
it up after.
Yeah,
That's
she plays like some serial killer girl and she kills me because I have an RC car, like a plane or like RC boat. And I just remember them putting like the death makeup on me. And
mm,
that's kind of that's the first one. I must have been like 9. That's kind of sad. That's the first thing I remember. Um, but yeah, that's the first one I can really remember. Yeah.
very cool. Death makeup sounds cool.
Death makeup, yeah.
And what is the first time you had to cry on cue?
It was for a short film. Jonathan Barenboim directed it. Still a good friend of mine. He rocks. Um, it's called The Lepidoctor, and it's about this young boy. His mother's just passed, and he hangs out at this antique shop where this old man gives him a Lepidoctor kit, which it's this kit that is supposed to be able to bring butterflies back to life. And there's sort of the whole thing where when loved ones pass, they'll like come back as butterflies and stuff.
Mhm.
um, I don't know. I knew about that growing up. I've just lately realized not a lot of other people do that, but that's sort of the premise is he's trying to bring these butterflies back to life.
Cool. Like that. And do you have a favorite celebrity that you'd love to work with someday? Or just
Um,
like any other actor that I don't know that
you know
comes to
what?
mind?
I'm gonna say Mo Salah. He plays for Liverpool. He'd be cool. I think he'd be good.
Nice.
I'd like to see him in a movie.
Maybe playing like a biopic, maybe?
No, not even that. Like a buddy cop. Like we're gonna have guns and we're gonna like go through shooting everybody. That's what I'm thinking of. Me and him hanging out. That like in a cop car and a stakeout. That just seems like a good movie. I'd watch it.
Awesome. And three more for you. Do you have a favorite line for a film or TV show?
Ooh, favorite line? Oh, I love Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington is one of my favorite actors of all time. I can't believe I threw and didn't mention him. But in Training Day, he just has a line where he's like, King Kong ain't got on me. And he's like, you gonna be playing basketball at Pelican Bay. That's just if you haven't seen Training Day, go watch it. It's an
All
awesome,
right.
awesome movie. Ethan Hawke. Oh my God. I would love to work with Ethan Hawke. I mean, we're on the same voiceover show right now, but he records somewhere else. I don't know where, but he would be cool to work with. Dead Poet Society, Training Day.
Definitely,
That guy's
definitely.
really talented. He's super cool.
Awesome. And is there, a favorite song that kind of pumps you up before you have to do something before you go on set? One thing you always listen to?
You know what? It depends on the mood. If I have to go fight and it's like it's a good fight and
Uh,
I feel good about it, I love listening to Fool in the Rain by Led Zeppelin. That's just like a really groovy head boppy song that puts me in a good mood. If it's a fight that's dark and I'm angry or tormented by something, um Shove It by the Deftones is just like really puts you in a I gotta murder something kind
uh,
of mood for me. Um, Otherwise, just getting ready for set. I like listening to Valerie by Amy Winehouse.
Love that one.
Like, yeah, that's just
But
like
they're all very different moods for
yeah, right.
the
Or
body.
Dominic Fike. I love Dominic Fike. What's the Too Much Weed? How Much Is Weed? Something. It's off of Sunburn. I forget. It's like the first song off that album. That's a really fun song.
All right. Well, those are all awesome ones.
You
And
get on Slack though.
so
There you go.
last one for you. Do you have a first, TV show that inspired you to want to become an actor
TV show.
or movie, or it could be movie
Yeah, I was
too.
like, TV show, no. Movie, Ocean's 11. Ocean's 11 is what I watched that when I was really young, in that my life goal when I was a kid, everyone wrote, what do you want to be when you grow up? Astronaut, firefighter, doctor, vet, all that stuff. All I wanted to do was be a bank robber. And still to this day, I would love to rob a bank someday. It's just the security cameras are too advanced. Um, yeah, that really sparked my passion for wait, I physically can't be a bank robber, but I can play one in a movie.
True, true.
That's sort of that's where that really inspired me to take acting seriously. So I was like, wait, I could be a bank robber? That's amazing. What's up? I'm Jacob Bertrand. Thanks for having me. Please don't forget to subscribe to Young Entertainment. Woohoo!